Hey, what's going on? I'm Eric, and we are doing intro and kind of intermediate videos to kind of cover some of the basics of cybersecurity. I work for Panola College in the Department of Cybersecurity, Networking, and Digital Forensics for different types of courses and whatnot. Definitely check it out, panola.edu. And also, thank you for dropping by. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Let me know in the comments below what exactly it is that you want to see, cover, and stuff like this. We're hitting on a couple of concepts that we cover inside of some of the courses that we offer at Panola. And in this video, we're going to be covering SMB and the problem that we see sometimes with it. So let's hop on over to our Windows 10 VM that we have in VMware or VirtualBox, if that's what you're using, and kind of get an idea of what's going on and what I'm talking about here. Now, if you haven't already, definitely check out some of the introduction to VirtualBox video that we did here, along with the introduction to Wireshark video that we did. That way we can kind of catch up and get caught up on where we're actually at. And I like to do it on the cheap because VirtualBox is free. So here we are in our command prompt. And the reason I have this open is because we're taking a look at our IP address. And we are 192.168.247.128. Now, why am I doing this? Well, because I'm going to open up a start run. And I'm going to type in whack, whack, backspace, backspace, that IP address. 192.168.247.128. And when it opens up, if it opens up, see right here, I have one share that's actually available on the network. So this is kind of what it looks like when you access this particular IP address from a different system. Now, where would you see this out in the wild? Well, let's say you're not attacking. We would never do that. Let's say you're trying to access a share from another system, like a file share or a print server or something along those lines. This is what it would actually come up as. Now, generally, it would have a computer name or an actual, FQDN, fully qualified domain name. But in this case, we're using the actual IP address for ease of use and demonstration in this particular video. So why am I doing this? Well, because that's not the only share that's actually on this system, and I know that for a fact. There's a thing in Windows called hidden shares, and they usually end with a $sign. Now, you may be asking, what the world is he talking about? And the easiest way to check this out is by opening up computer management. So you can hit start. Oh, good, it worked. And start typing in computer management. And there it is. Now I'm just going to open it up. If you want to make any changes, you'll definitely have to run it as administrator, but we're just doing a view real quick. And so we should be able to just go in and view the actual, what's called administrative shares or admin shares. And where those are on the left side, you'll see it's in the shared folders. Open it up, go down to shares, and you'll see that this system actually has 5 shares altogether. And the one that we were looking at, let me zoom in here for us real quick. Come on, you can do it. There you go. The one on the bottom share was that one we saw as we were reviewing it like we were on another system. And the 4 above it all in $signs. Well, those shares still exist. They're just hidden on the actual network itself because these are shares that Windows needs to have for different reasons, all sorts of different stuff, like the admin, the IPC, etc., etc. And we're not going to get into what they're for. We're just going to take a look at how to audit this. Now, one of the ways we audit this is by using, let's say, our Kali box, for example, and going in and doing a couple of checks against the target system. Now, we're doing this as an authorized user or administrator or somebody with permission on the actual network or targeted system. We'll get into more of the pen testing side of this way later on. But one of the first tools that we're going to use is called enum for Linux. And I'm going to have all these commands in the description below so you can take a look at them. So we're going to run sudo enum for Linux and the target's IP address. When we run this, we don't need a specific user or anything like that. It just gives us kind of an overview of what's actually going on that particular system. Now, that's a lot of information that just came up. That's okay, though. We're going to scroll up and start from the beginning. And we see that we have our target of 247.128, RID ranges. But here's what we're kind of really honing in on. Known usernames. Well, this particular system that we targeted already tells us that it's administrator, guest, and a bunch of other ones. So we're going to be honing in on administrator. But I do want to point out that we have a domain admins group inside that one particular system we just targeted, which indicates it's on a domain. Now, if we scroll down, we can see that we don't get all the information, but we do get enough about the actual box itself. It tells us the actual computer name. For some reason, it's popping up work group as well. I might have let this one lapse. So I might have to re-add it later on, but that's good because it still keeps some of the information from the domain in there, and we can see that here in the enum for Linux. Now with this information, we're going to go ahead and swap over to our other command or CLI here in terminal. So that way we can just make sure that we keep everything clean. And we're going to run our second command of smbclient. Now this right here with a -L for the target and -U for the user that we're going to be using for this, both uppercase by the way, is going to go in and basically ping the, not like ICMP packet, but it's going to ping the SMB portion of the actual target that we're looking at here. And once we hit enter, it's going to ask us for our password. Now again, we're an authorized user in all of this, and we're not pen testing just yet. We're doing a security audit. So we're going to type the password of @$0RD, and we're going to hit enter. And we can see here that boom shakalaka, we have all of those shares popping up. Now there are 5 shares altogether that are showing, and inside the Windows box, when we just did a regular whack and did a file share kind of method to get there, we only saw the one that said share. And the reason we saw it is because it did not have the $sign on it to make it a hidden share that we saw in the computer management of that target system. So this is just a quick method to kind of audit and see if there's any unauthorized shares on any particular systems, or if something's being hosed up on one of those shares in particular. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, well, I had to type in a password and I'm not really sure if it's being sent in clear text or what's commonly referred to on the DoD side as plain text, which is unencrypted, or if it is encrypted. How do we know? Well, on the screen here, I have Wireshark opened up, and we ran it while in the background, unbeknownst to anyone, while we were doing our connection test over the SMB protocol. Now having the display filter ip.dst equal the IP address of the system that we tested to see all those shares that were on that system. And these are all the packets that match that criteria. So we can see there's quite a few packets in here. Some of them are TCP, one is SMB, which is the negotiation of the protocol, and then the rest of the SMB stuff is in SMB2. Now, how do we know if the password was sent or not? Well, once we're sorting by ip.destination and we have the IP address in there, we can just hit Control F and search all of these packets that we have available. And I happen to know the password that I typed in that went over to that box. And that was our standard $$W lowercase ord. And we're going to do a find. And nothing came back. So the actual password itself was encrypted going from here to there, which is great. So that's a tool that we can use that has some sort of authentication mechanism in place to protect our password. Now, do keep in mind that the username was sent in clear text. How do we know? Well, we're going to clear out the password and actually search for administrator, because that was the username that we used going over to that particular system. We're going to hit enter for find, and it does come up. And we can scroll down and see right there, and I'm going to zoom in for you, where we have session ID and account of administrator. And right below that, you see account administrator, domain work group. Now this matches everything that we sent over to that one targeted system that we were checking for those shares on. So just keep in mind that the domain name and the username will be sent in plain text across the wire when we do this testing, but not the password, which is good. And the last thing I do want to point out for those playing at home, if we're keeping track of all of our ports, whether they be TCP or UDP or whatever the case may be, that SMB, if we zoom in here, uses port 445. Now 443 we know is HTTPS. 445 is for SMB. And that is a secure channel that we can open up from our Kali box to the Windows box to make sure that we don't have those hidden shares. But do keep in mind that 445 has to be accessible by some means or method. Now later on, again, we will get into how to make it accessible if it's not readily available. And really, that's all there is to it when we're checking to see if there are shares or hidden shares that we may or may not be aware of on our network for the idea of a security audit. Now, later on, you can definitely expand this to include, let's say, a full-on subnet through scripting or other means, but we're just hitting on a couple of different ways to test and also use the verification method with Wireshark to make sure that we are not sending passwords that are plain text or clear text, if you will, over the wire, so that way somebody else may be able to pick it up if they're up to bad things. Thanks for swinging by. Always check out Panola College, panola.edu. Like and subscribe. Send it to your friends. Tell them that there's some pretty neat stuff on here. And if you think of anything else that we need to cover, leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought. And, give me some ideas for some other videos that might be good for not only the class, but for those that are out there watching. Take care. See you next time.